Hello guys. So I will be discussing about kinematics. So first is the horizontally accelerated motion. So under kinematics yan. So when we say horizontally accelerated motion, so lang horizontally accelerated motion. So lahat ng motion natin na horizontal siya. Kasi yung upward or vertical, upward or downward, di ba? We call that as free falling bodies, di ba? And then kapag may angle naman yan, okay, with respect to ground, so we call that as the projectile motion. Okay, so let's start with horizontally accelerated motion. So there are only 5 formulas that you have to remember kapag dating sa mga pagdating dito sa horizontally accelerated motion. Okay. So, say we have a distance, di ba? X. So, we all know that is a, say that is the distance traveled. Okay? So, kapag kukunin natin yung velocity, di ba? So, kung mapapansin niyo dun sa material natin, that is the limit of delta x with respect to time as delta t approaches 0. So, kapag in short, okay, yung velocity natin is just the derivative of x with respect to time. Okay? So, since meron dito na delta x tsaka delta t, so we all know that delta x is just the change in displacement, meaning that is distance final minus the initial distance. Ganon din sa time natin. So, yung delta time natin is just the change in time. So, that is tf minus ti. Okay? So, you have to remember this one. Yung velocity natin is just the derivative of x with respect to time. With respect to time yan. Okay? Kaya yung unit natin dito is maybe meter per second. Pwede rin yan. Kilometer per second. Pwede rin na centimeter per second. Pwede rin feet per second. Diba? So now, distance, velocity, what's next? Meron tayong acceleration. So, yung acceleration naman guys is applying yung calculus natin. That is the limit of delta V divided by delta T as delta T approaches 0. So, it means to say that yung acceleration natin is just the derivative of the velocity with respect to time. Okay? Then take note that the velocity is already in meter per second. Diba? So, over time pa. So, meter per second square. Kaya yung units natin dito is meter per second square or kilometer per second square or cm per second square as long as naka-square yung ating time doon sa baba. Okay? So, you have to remember this one. Now, pagdating naman doon sa mga formulas na gagamitin, okay? So, tatlo lang yung kailangan yung tandaanan. That is the final velocity is equal to VO, initial velocity, plus the acceleration times time. So, that's the first one. Second is the distance. Di ba? Usually, yung distance natin is S. Okay? Pwede rin na D, Depende kung saan yung reference ninyo. So S is equal to initial velocity times time plus 1/2 times the acceleration times the t square. And then for number 3, so we also have Vf square is equal to Vo square plus 2as. Okay? So, para gamitin yung formulas na to, tignan natin kung ano nga ba yung pwedeng masolve. Isulat natin kung ano yung mga given. Okay? Kung meron tayong 2 variables included, so let's try another formula kung isa lang ba yung pwedeng masolve dito. Okay? And then, may nakalimutan ako sa acceleration since itong delta V tsaka delta T. So, yung delta V natin, that is the change in velocity or Vf minus Vi. So, ganun din sa time. So, yung delta T natin, so, nandito, pareho lang dito, Tf minus Ti. So, meaning, yung velocity natin can be solved using xf minus xi divided by Tf minus Ti. So, pagdating naman sa acceleration natin is V final minus V initial divided by T final, I should say, minus Ti. Okay? So, those are the formulas na kailangan nyo lang i-memorize. Okay? Pero kahit wag nyo nang i-memorize to, tsaka to, as long as you know this one, yung limit na yan, and then that is the derivative of the velocity. Pati rin dito sa velocity natin. Okay? Kasi ito, na-derive lang gamit dito. Diba? Na-derive lang yung formula na to gamit itong mga change na yan. Okay? So, let's try to apply these formulas. Okay, so average speed is path length over the elapsed time. So, ito, velocity natin is the limit of delta x over delta t as delta t approaches 0. Then, ganoon din dito sa acceleration. Okay? So, itong example, may explanation naman dito. So, I don't have to explain this anymore. But if you have some clarifications, please drop your queries sa GC natin para ma-address natin yan. Okay? Gusto kasi mag-focus doon sa application nito eh. So, saan na yan? Ayan. Dito tayo. Okay? So, if you read this one, so nandito yung derivation yan. Okay? Parang ito. If a car starts with a velocity of 2 meters per second to the right and accelerates to the right with acceleration equals 6 meters per second square. So, after 2 seconds elapsed time, what would be its velocity? Okay? So, sabi ko kanina, there are 3 formulas na kailangan nyo lang intindihin, which is ito yan. Okay? So, ang ginamit niya is itong first na formula. Okay? Bakit ito? So, what are the given? Ayan. So, the given is the car starts, sabi niya. Diba? So, meaning, we have initial velocity, Vo, or V sub 0, equals 2 meters per second, di ba? And then, acceleration natin is 6 meters per second square. And we also have the given time, which is 2 seconds. Okay? So, what would be its velocity? So, ang tinatanong dito is the final velocity. So, tignan natin. So, kapag ito kasi yung gamit natin, okay, since direkta na yung tinanong na velocity, so wala na panumpik-tumpik. So, ito na yung gagamitin natin kasi VF, di ba? Ito yung tinatanong, which is the unknown. Di ba? VO, given, yes. Acceleration, given also. And then time, given also. So, direct substitution tayo. Okay? 2 plus 6 times 2. So, calculator or pwede mo namang i-solve manually. So, it will give us 14 meter per second. Okay? And then, wait lang, nag-lag. Ayun, okay na siya. So, ito yung graphical representation or the interpretation ng ating problem kanina. Okay? And then, another, so ito yung sinabi ko. Okay. So, for this one, so hindi ko titignan na yung solution. Okay. So, for letter A is a race car starting from rest. So, it means that for letter A, so ang VO natin, okay, is equal to 0. And then, accelerates at a constant rate of 5 meter per second square. So, we have the acceleration that is 5 meter per second square. So, what is the velocity of the car? So, tinatanong is the VF after the car traveled 100 feet. Okay? So, 100 feet. Ngayon, tignan natin. So, feet. Okay? Ang acceleration natin is meter. So, we have to convert yung distance traveled, which is CS, okay, into meter para pwede natin silang i-add. So, times in 1 meter, we have 3.28 feet. Okay? So, convert muna natin. Cancel yung feet natin. And then, so 100 divided by 3.28. Okay, so we have distance traveled in meters is 30.49 meters. Okay? So, ang tinatanong is yung VF, final velocity. So, if we will try to use this first formula natin, okay? Walang problema, VF unknown. Okay? VO natin given naman. Okay? Acceleration given naman, but hindi sinabi yung time. Okay? So, unknown din si time. So, we cannot use itong formula na to. Okay? And then for the second one, okay, given distance traveled. So, check natin yan. VO, check. Acceleration, check. Okay? So we can solve for time here. Okay? We can solve for time here since given naman ito. So, yung letter B yung pwede nating unahin. Okay? So, applying yung second formula natin, that is S equals VOT, okay, time yan, plus 1 half a t square, so, yung S natin is 30.49 meters, equal to, ano yung VO natin? 0. Okay, so ito, full term is 0. Plus 1 half, acceleration natin is 5 meter per second square. So we can compute for the time. Okay? So computing for time, so by cross multiplication guys, so that is 30.49 times 2 divided by 5 equals t square. So getting the square root of both sides, so we can compute for the time, for the elapsed time. So the time here is, so using your calculator, so 30.49 over times 2 divided by 5. Okay, so we have 3.49 seconds. So that is the elapsed time for letter B. Okay, and for letter A, so ito yung tinatanong for letter A. Okay, so what is final velocity? So if we will try to use number 3 na formula, since given naman to, walang problema, given sa acceleration and given din si distance travel, so we can solve for the final velocity. So final velocity natin, Vf square is equal to, since ang VO natin ay 0, so 0 square plus 2, anong acceleration natin? Acceleration is 5. And then, distance traveled natin is 30.49. Okay? And then, VF natin, so getting the square root of both sides, ayan. So VF is equal to 2 times 5 times 30.49. So final velocity is 17.46 meter per second. Okay. Now, for checking lang to guys, for checking lang. So, if I will try to use number 1 formula to compute for time taken during the travel, so tignan natin kung tatama dun sa 3.49 din. Okay? So, VF natin is, ito yung letter A. Okay? So, just to check our answer. So, VF equals VO plus AT. So, ano yung VF natin? Computed na. So, that is 17.46 equals VO is 0 plus, ano yung A natin? Acceleration is 5 and then time elapsed. Okay? So, to compute for time, is equal to 17.46 divided by 5. So that is equal to 17.46 over 5. So we have 3.49. So they are the same. Okay. So they are the same. So in short, madali lang yung analysis nito. Okay? As long as you know what formula to be used. Okay, tignan nyo kung sa isang formula ba, masolve natin tong isang unknown or magkakaroon ba tayo ng another unknown. Okay? So, ganun lang. Ganun lang yung analysis natin. Okay. Ayan. Okay, so for number 2, so a car traveling at a constant speed of 24 meter per second square. Okay? So, say that is our VI. 24 meter per second. Passes a trooper hidden behind a billboard. So, as in figure. So, wala kasing figure included. So, 1 second after the speeding car passes the billboard, a trooper sets off in chase with a constant acceleration of 3 meter per second square. So, yung drawing niyan is ganito. Ano yung ano dun? Yung mga tinatanong car at saka yung trooper. Say this is the billboard. Okay? So, ito yung billboard daw. Ito yung billboard. So, nandyan si Ivan Alawi. Diba? Billboard. Billboard. Okay? And then say this is the road. Ito yung road natin. Okay? Ayan. So, say this is the car. Ito yung car. Okay? Ganda ko ng drawing ko. Malay mo. Diba? Para siyang hindi car, no? And then, ayan. And then, nandito daw yung trooper. Kasi naka-ano din siya. Naka-car din si trooper natin. Siyempre, habulin niya yan. Okay? Ayan, so nandyan yung ilaw. Para alam natin na nandyan yung harap niya. Okay? So now, ang sabi doon, as it passes the trooper, okay? So, ang speed niya daw is 24 meter per second square. So, ang VI ni car, okay? Ang VI niya is 24 meter per second. Okay? And then, since nalagpasan niya, okay, nalagpasan niya daw yung at this position, siyempre lalagpasan niya, di ba? Kasi nandito yung car natin. Okay? Then, after 1 second, siyempre, pagkalagpas, bilang tayo ng 1 second, say nandito na yung car natin. Ito na yung car. So, ang elapsed time daw dito ay 1 second. Yan yung elapsed time. So, di ba, after 1 second nandito, and then saka daw umalis si trooper na ang acceleration na daw ay 3 meter per second square. 3 meter per second square after 1 second. Okay? So, the question is, how long does it take the trooper to overtake the speeding car? Okay? So, ngayon, since hahabulin niya daw to, okay? since hahabulin niya daw to, so ano daw yung time nito? Ano daw yung time para mahabol niya daw si car? Okay, ito si trooper, okay? Sabihin natin trooper. And then ito si car, okay? Ilang seconds daw ang kailangan niya para ma-overtake niya si car natin. Okay, so that's the question. So, ito yung representation niya. Ayan. So, since nandito naman yung explanation, so i-clear out ko na lang, no? Solving this problem involves two simultaneous kinematics equations of position. One for the trooper and one for the car. So, choose T. Parang may mali dito eh. Okay? So, for letter A na lang, tayo. For letter A, so yung equation ng car's displacement ay ito. So, yung distance traveled ni car minus yung x sub o. So, initial distance. Okay? So, di ba, ang delta x natin is equal to xf minus xi. Okay? Or, meron tayong formula din that is equal to VOT plus 1/2 AT squared, di ba? So, ito kasi delta x ang ginamit. So, pwede rin naman na delta S or S na lang para hindi kayo malito. Okay? Minsan kasi nagpapalito yung mga ano tong X na to? Okay? So, yung X sub O natin, okay? Yung X sub O or initial velocity, okay, so 24 meters. Bakit? Bakit 24 meters yung initial velocity? So, ang nangyari dito is, at this point daw, okay? Ito yung, at this point na magkatapat sila, dyan na mag-i-start yung ating time. So, at t equals 0. Okay, at t equals 0 yan. So, at 1 second daw, since given yung velocity nito, diba? So, yung initial distance nito, okay, initial distance after 1 second is equal to, since velocity natin is equal to distance over time, diba? So, solve for distance. So, meron tayong v times t, diba? Ang velocity natin ay 24 meter per second times yung time natin na 1 second. So, cancel. So, yung initial distance natin, distance traveled after 1 second is 24 meters. Okay? Next. Yung VO natin, okay, given naman. So, 24 meter per second. VO or VI to guys, ha? Initial or V sub 0. Ayan. So, given naman, 24 meter per second is here. And yung acceleration ng car, since constant speed tayo. Since constant speed, meaning, diba, if you remember kanina that yung acceleration is equal to delta V over delta T. So, meaning, ay yung VF minus VI divided by TF minus TI, di ba? And then sabi dito, since constant speed yan, constant, so hindi nagbabago, meaning si VF is equal to VI. So kung pareho lang naman to, so yung numerator natin ay 0. So 0 divided by any number, okay, is equal to 0. That is why ang acceleration niya dito ay 0. So we can solve for distance traveled ni car by substituting to our formula. Okay? So, x car, yung distance traveled ni car is equal to x sub o plus vt. Okay? So, we have one another meron tayong another variable na time. Okay? Equation 1. And then, write the equation for the trooper's position, taking x sub 0 equals 0. And then, v sub 0 equals 0. And then, since given naman yung acceleration trooper, which is 3 meter per second square, so paano nakuha to? So, by using this formula, okay? So, yung distance traveled daw ni trooper is equal to VOT plus 1/2 AT squared. Since at this position, okay, at T equals 0, okay, so yung acceleration niyan ay 0. Siyempre, naka-rest siya, di ba? Hindi naman agad-agad na may acceleration yan. So, yung A natin is, given, and then yung initial velocity niya ay 0. So, ito, 0. And then, ito na siya. Kaya nakuha ito for the trooper. Okay? So, 1/2 times 3 times t square. Okay? So, ito na po siya. And then, okay. As according on our representation, okay? So, ano daw yung distance nung, syempre, since hinabol ni trooper si car, okay? So, pareho na sila ng distance. Okay? Pareho na sila ng distance traveled. Okay? Kaya dito, in-equate niya na yung distance traveled ni car is equal to distance traveled ni trooper. Okay? So, x trooper is equal to x car. So, ito yung x ni trooper. Ito yung distance traveled ni troopers. That is 1/2 ano yung ito? Ito. Okay. Ito. So, yan yung distance traveled daw ni trooper. So, ito siya. Pinagbaliktad niya ba dito? So, para mas maintindihan ninyo, x car equals x trooper. Okay? So, yung x car natin, ito. Ito yung distance traveled ni car at a given time. Okay? So, kaya nandito siya. And then, x trooper, I should say. So, ito siya. X trooper, kaya nandyan. And then, by using a quadratic equation, so we have to rearrange this one, okay? Pag in-arrange natin yan, Ayan. Pag in-arrange natin yan, so magiging 24 plus 24t equals 1.5t square. So, i-transpose natin doon sa kabila. And then, pati ito, transpose din sa kabila. Okay? So, magiging 1.5t square plus, minus dapat yan. Kasi nag-transpose tayo eh. Minus 24t minus 24 equals 0. So, since quadratic yan, so we have 2 time. Okay? Say T1 lang. T1 and then T2. Okay, so by using your calculator, so set up equation square 1.5 minus 24 minus 24. Okay, so yung T1 natin ay 16.94. Then yung pangalawa naman is negative 0.94 seconds. Okay? But since wala tayong negative na time, so we can consider this as our answer. Okay? It's our answer yan. Okay? And then find the trooper's speed at that time. So at this time daw, ano daw yung speed ni trooper? Okay? So, anong ginamit niyang formula? So, VF is equal to VO plus AT. Diba? So, yung first formula natin, kasi given naman na yung time and given naman yung acceleration and given naman yung initial velocity natin. Okay? Yes, given, which is 0. So, VF is equal to, ito na nga siya, 0. And then, acceleration is 3. And then, yung time natin is ito. Then, by calculator, so we can solve for the final velocity ni trooper. Okay, so, ito daw kabilis yung trooper natin para habulin niya yung overtake sa kanya na car. Okay? And then, ito, number 1, 2, ano ba magandang isolve dito? Okay, so, let's try number 5. So, number 5 tayo. Let's try this. Ayan. In a test run, a certain car accelerates uniformly from 0 to 24 meters per second in 2.95 seconds. Okay. Since from 0 to 24 meters per second, so meaning that is VO or VI is equal to 0. And then VF natin is equal to 24 meter per second. and then the elapsed time is 2.95 seconds. So for letter A, what is the magnitude of the car's acceleration? Okay, so we can solve this one using the first equation. So yung first equation natin ay Vf equals Vo plus At. Okay? Since Vf is given, and then T is given, so we can solve for acceleration. Okay? So Vf is 24 meter per second equals Vo is 0 plus anong acceleration natin? That is the unknown. And time is 2.95 seconds. So yung A natin is equal to 24 divided by 2.95. 24 divided by 2.95. Okay, acceleration ay 8.1355. So, meter per second square. And then, for letter B, how long does it take the car to change its speed from 10 meter per second to 20 meter per second square? Okay. So, for letter B, saan cursor ko? Ayan. So, pag sinabing time, ayan, time natin, tinatanong yan. Vf or Vi is equal to 10 meter per second. And then Vf is 20 meter per second. So, what are the unknown pa? Given ba yung time? If we will use yung S equals VOT plus 1 half AT square, okay, hindi naman kasi given to. Okay? Hindi given to. And then, if we also use yung ito, VF square, so that is equal to VO plus 2AS. So, hindi rin given sa acceleration. Hindi rin given sa acceleration. And then, hindi rin given si S. Okay? And then, yung VF natin, yung ano naman, yung pangalawa, yung una pala is VO plus AT. So, hindi rin given si time. Hindi rin given si acceleration. So, how can we solve this one? So, sabi dito is accelerates uniformly. Okay? From 0 to 24 meter per second in... Okay. So, for letter B kasi, ang final velocity niya is 24. Ang final velocity is 20. So, we cannot use this given. Okay? How can you solve this one? So let's try to find way to solve this one. So distance, given. So let's find the way to solve on how to solve the distance traveled. So VF, say 20 is 10 plus A set T. Then dito naman 20 square equals 10 square plus 2AS. So hindi rin pwede kasi we have two unknowns. Parang may kulang sa ano natin ah. How long does it take the car to change speed from 10 meters per second to 20 meters per second? Okay, so I think there is missing here for letter B. Parang kulang ng mga given eh. I don't know if we can use this given time to find for time. Hindi rin pwede yung time. Definitely hindi pwede gamitin to. Okay? Okay. VF. Yung S natin. If we try to substitute here, A, A, S, nasaan na yun? Nasaan na yun? Ayan. There is something missing talaga eh. Okay? So, i-correct natin yan. Okay? So, for the meantime, huwag nyo munang huwag nyo munang intindihin. Okay? So, hanggang dyan muna yung natin, discussion natin.